We are live. We are live. We are live. Come into the room. Come into the room. I have special guest, an author, survivor, Caleb Harris. I am excited to have him on board. But before I introduce him and bring him on, I have got to tell you how the month of May for They Took My Choice Away is very special to me. And not only do I have, the monthly survivor that I always feature, this month a lot of my friends and new friends that I have met, whether I was on their platform to share my story, will be on will be broadcasting every Sunday and every Wednesday for the month of May, in celebration of the second annual anniversary of They Took My Choice Away. So I am ecstatic. I am happy. I have not arrived. However, I am just grateful that um, people were coming out the droves to just to even want to share. And I'm glad I was able to offer a safe space for such a thing. And I think it's very important why I even do this in the first place. It's really just to give you testimonies of people's experiences, and show you that the end, it does not have to be miserable, that your healing journey doesn't have to be alone. And so I hope that if you've ever tuned in, if you've ever shared an episode, that you are doing it, and not only in good faith, but it's also planting seed. And I hope that it's been helpful for other survivors, just like our survivor today. Without further ado, let me add him onto the stream. Author, survivor, Caleb Harris. Hi, how are you?
Hey, doing well. You?
I'm not doing too bad today. I'm a little,
Awesome.
I sound a little nasally because I'm just getting over this, I don't know, the seasons changing and stuff, and how late they're changing.
Yep.
Um, but I enjoyed my day off. I went to church. I had my kids with me, and then we had a soccer game that I enjoyed. And so, dinner was made for me when I got home, so I was very happy about that.
Hmm.
So, and now I want to spend my hour with you. I'm particularly excited because I feel like there's not enough stories that can be told, and different experiences that can be told, you know, for such a very sensitive topic such as ours. And I
Hmm.
think that sometimes it makes people uncomfortable, and sometimes it gets people like a little riled up, like why does she do this every month? Now she's gonna do this every week. You know what I mean?
Yo.
Yes, I'm going to, because if you can learn on and learn and help unlearn some behaviors that you might be, doing, because someone's story was able to help you, absolutely. So I am no therapist. I am no, I'm just a little gal, from
Hmm.
Atco, New Jersey, who just wants to do her part in the world. And so I hope that you feel the same way too.
Yeah.
So I always like to start the interview as, like, with an icebreaker. And so tell us about little Caleb when you were younger, of any childhood memories that you'd like to share that really stuck out most to you, that you kind of like hold on to dear life now.
Yeah. So I think just the innocent little Caleb always liked to play with toys. It was always Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, and Beyblade. So I remember there's this one time me and my buddies from the basketball court. I guess we decided to take some time away from the basketball court and play with Beyblades. So me and my buddies, we decided to run a whole tournament for Beyblades, and yeah, it was actually a lot of fun. Actually, basically I didn't win, but everyone else had fun, and we were able just to get together and just do something different. So I think just moments like that were just so cool to basically just chill and just lay back and honestly just be kids.
I know. I'm glad that you have childhood memories. I think my last guest last month, she no 2 months ago, she didn't
Mm,
have any childhood memories because she grew up in an environment where it was abusive as a child. Since she was a child. And it's always been that way. And then it kind of trickled into her relationships. And then she developed all these little multiple personalities and disorders. So um, that's how heavy, what I mean, abuse and trauma can really, you know, affect us. And I'm just so glad that you have at least some childhood memories that we can hold on to, because some people just don't.
hmm.
Um, So would you like how I was reading some of your book. Excuse me, guys. I am a little under the weather. I was reading some of your book, and I'm halfway through it, and you had a really rough childhood. You
Yeah.
you really did. Would you mind starting in the beginning and just kind of like, you know, make us go through your life and what that was like?
Yeah. So I remember, in the beginning, everything wasn't too terrible, to be honest. I mean, my
Mhm.
parents were, from what I had seen and from what I could remember, because of trauma, sometimes you don't remember everything. But my mom and my dad were actually pretty cool at one point. They would always spend time together and all this other stuff. And then what had happened is that my mother and my father started to get into physical and verbal arguments. And when I was 6 years old, my dad tried to kill my mom, and it was pretty crazy stuff. I mean, he doesn't even remember the event happening. I've just basically just said, he must have been going through something either demonic or just mental health chemical imbalance in his brain. But it took me a while to forgive him and just to say, hey, just the past is in the past. And then when I was 9 years old, I was sexually abused by my female cousins. That was pretty rough as well. And
So
my
you're
outlet,
saying you're
yeah,
saying cousins. You're saying quite a few. Like you're
so it was
saying more
like
than two.
two, yeah, like two, yeah.
Okay.
So that
Wow.
that was that was rough to go through. It was always in the black community. It was always don't say anything, don't snitch, and the whole playing house thing. So obviously, I just kind of played along and just said, "Oh well, I'm not really gonna do anything." And then I started getting really heavy into like drinking at around like 10 to 12 years old, and then after a while, I just got really into like marijuana, drinking, and then it was also pornography and sex addiction, and then basically it was just all these kind of things. I was always just trying to escape reality. So fiction became very powerful for me to write fiction stories. I mean, I really related to the series of unfortunate events because that was just at that point I just spoke that into my life is that is just how my life is. It's just nothing more than another fortunate event after another unfortunate event. So it was, yeah, that's how my childhood mostly was. But
So how,
basketball, yeah,
wow.
hmm,
So let's just go back
yeah, yeah,
because you
sure.
just said a whole lot
Hmm.
just now. Woo. Okay. So at what age again? What about your cousins
So that was
that were
around
sexually
like, yeah,
abused?
that was 9. Yeah,
That was 9. And
yeah, that was
how long
9.
did that go on for?
It was on and off for a little while. It was basically, I guess, they just wanted to explore what sex meant from what they had seen, or from my study of addiction and things like that. I take it that they were sexually abused as well, and usually
Mm.
people who have been sexually abused, they want to practice on other people, and so that's what I basically taught it up to. So that happened for about like a couple of months, and then after a while, I stopped showing up, and I basically just parted
Okay.
ways with them. So yeah.
How was that making you feel as a little boy?
Well, I numbed a lot of this stuff out. So basically, when I was talking about it in recovery a couple of years ago, basically I just became numb. I didn't really have any feelings and emotions towards it. It wasn't no like hatred or animosity towards it or anything like that. It just happened, and that kind of just became a
A
theme in
secret
my
that you
life.
kept?
Yeah, it just happened, and that's just how life is, and you just move on. So I didn't really have any feelings and emotions about it at all.
So let's go back a little further.
Hmm.
You said at 6 that you saw that your dad was almost killed your mom.
Yeah.
That trauma in itself, what did that do to you?
Well,
Did you have
that just
trust issues or?
yeah, I learned later in life I had trust issues with just trusting women, trusting men, and just it basically spiraled into more of my adulthood, like keeping like friends and family, and just
Yeah.
like even sometimes, and a stranger would just try to talk to me and reach out to me. I always think they have some kind of an ulterior motive, but I know it's just I have to use discernment and say, okay, it's probably that they don't have an ulterior motive. Maybe they come from good intentions, but God always says to use discernment when you're talking to people. So that's just something that I've always kept in the back of my mind. So yeah,
Mhm.
definitely trust issues with something because you never know what people are up to. You never know what people are going to do, and people could smile on your face one minute and then they can be trying to put a knife in it the next. So it's always
Very true.
just yeah, it's all just about being careful.
So your parents didn't stay together,
No.
right? Did they? Right. And so what was that like?
So it was different, I remember my mom had basically just she told me everything. So she basically just let me know what was going on. I remember, she was around. She had let me know like we're gonna have to sell the house. We're gonna have to go somewhere else. Like, you know, excuse me.
How old were you when she was telling
Uh,
you all this?
like 6, 7 years old. Yeah.
That's a
So
lot of weight
yeah.
to be had on a
Hmm.
child.
Yeah.
Most parents probably, some parents probably wouldn't say, they don't want to worry the kid, but did that bring on any worry in you?
The thing is, when I was younger, I kind of just sucked it up and just did what I had to do because that's just kind of how I was raised. But looking back at it, when I started becoming sober in 2019, then that's when I started to realize it. Like they never really did take a toll on me being like the quote unquote man of the house, and not really having too much male guidance to pattern myself under, and not really trying to be a bother to anybody or not really asking for help because I was the one who was the helper. So
Yeah.
I started realizing that, no one really helps the helper. I don't think it's really intentional. It's just the helper doesn't even know how to ask for help because they're just so used to helping out everybody else.
And let's not forget, you're still a child.
Yeah.
Who were you
Hmm.
supposed to help?
Hmm.
You
Yeah.
know? Ah, that just breaks my heart. Ugh. Okay. All right. So not only is the pressure of life of now your parents kind of split up, so it's now you're spending time with your father, you're spending time with your mom. Like, was there any time it was a tug of war between the two of them for you, or?
Yeah, it was definitely on the phone. They were always excuse me, at each other's throats a lot. I don't know who started it, but
Right.
sometimes my mom would say something, sometimes my dad would say something. So I didn't really know what to believe. I just accepted that, the both of them just didn't like to talk to one another.
Yeah.
They would have that on and off friendship, and sometimes they got along, sometimes they didn't get along, and I just accepted it as it is what it is.
Yeah. Okay. So, I know that you had said that you started to drink at a
Mhm.
very young age, and you said it was like 10 years old.
Yep, around there, yeah.
Now, how in the world did you at 10 years old get access to alcohol?
Oh, it was my grandma, basically. Yeah, I was visiting her for the summer. So basically, she was giving me wine. So like late at night, she was just giving me like a little bit of wine, and then all of a sudden after that, I just got pretty hooked. It was one of those things where I started realizing I get addicted to things very, very easily because after that, when she would fall asleep, I would just go right back to where I saw the wine and where it was, and then put it in a cup, and then like throw a little bit like dish soap in it, and just wash it all out, and then dry it off, and then put it right back to where it was, put everything where it was, and then just kept doing that over and over and over again.
So now it's a habit.
Yeah,
How bad did it get?
there were just periods of time, like I remember one that comes to my mind was the day that I actually had I went like 8 months without drinking at one point in 2018, and I was really serious at one point, and then I had a relapse in I think it was the day. It was the day before. No, it was the day of New Year's. So basically, that day it was yeah, it was the 31st, and it was 2018. And I told myself that, okay, I'm still not going to keep drinking, but I'm going to go to this club, I'm going to go to this bar, and I'm just going to just stay sober with me and my buddies. So I ended up hooking up with a woman. She didn't want me anymore. I just turned into a downward spiral, just kept taking shots after shots after shots. And thank God that he stopped me where I was. And then on the second, I believe on the 2nd of January, 2019, I just, got so tired of drinking because, like, the day after, I just kept drinking and drinking and drinking. So I just kept trying to drown out my sorrows, my feelings, and emotions. And then after a while, I just got tired of it. So ever since then, I just quit drinking. I don't go to like bars or clubs or anything like that. I just,
Mhm.
yeah, stay away.
Okay. So that is in your adulthood.
Yo,
Um, so you also mentioned that um, you started to do the marijuana. Was that also at a young age too?
yeah, that was also at a young age too. Basically, when I was like around 16, 17 years of age,
Okay.
around like that of high school years, it was supposed to be something that was every now and then, but back to being like having an addictive personality. It was one of those things where I was just like, hey, I'm just gonna keep on smoking, and then as long as I just keep it under control, I'll be
Yeah.
fine. But then I just got really lazy. I didn't want to do anything. There were times I just didn't really do anything at all. I was missing schoolwork because of my marijuana and drinking use. I had to spend an extra year in college. So instead of graduating in 2016, I graduated in 2017. So that was the consequences that I had to pay for, basically just engaging in all that.
Mm. When you look back now, how do you feel? Obviously, you've come a long way,
Hmm.
right? Because you've been sober for for how long now?
So basically, just for started in 2019. So it's been like four
Okay.
years.
Well, first of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
I know it takes will, but do you have like setbacks or any triggers that might, that have you kind of like thinking about wanting, you know what I mean?
Well, there's
We all have temptations and things like that.
Yeah, there's like temptations, as scripture says, there's always the enemy. He's always on the prowl. So, this
Mhm.
just, as I said before, I don't really go to certain places. I don't hang out with certain friends or family members and stuff like that. And I'm very mindful of what I watch on television and what I see in movies and stuff like that as well, because that could trigger something too. Also, just monitoring if I get like angry or get upset with something, that could make me want to just say, hey, well, maybe I should just go take a drink. And also, just I don't go to liquor stores. I just don't do it. I
Right.
don't go to certain places. There's certain people that I respect and still love, but out of respect and love, I don't hang out with them anymore because
Okay.
they're not on the path that I want to be on. It's not to be judgmental or stuck up. It's just,
Right.
you have to be, the scripture talks about it. It says bad company corrupts good character.
Come
So
on now.
that's something that I always keep in mind whenever I want to just, do something I have no business doing.
Wow. That was a lot,
Hmm.
but I understood it. I understand the assignment. Yes, we have to be at a point in our healing journey where there's
Yo.
just certain people we just cannot hang out with anymore because it corrupts us. There are certain, places that we cannot go. I can't go to, well, actually, I could sit at a bar and eat at a bar
Hmm.
without having the temptation of wanting to drink. When I wanted to stop drinking 20 years ago, 20 something years ago, I decided I wasn't not going to do it. And if I wasn't going to smoke anymore, I wasn't going to do any of that. When I decided to quit, I quit cold turkey, but I also had a reason. I wanted to follow God.
Yo.
I wanted to pursue him, and I was in a very toxic abusive relationship in my 20s, and with 3 kids later, and I'm like, I just need to get out of this. I don't know how I'm gonna do it, and all of that. So I decided to be homeless. I packed the
Mhm.
kids up, and I was gonna leave everything. Thank God my mom allowed me to move in, but I didn't ask her. I went straight to church, her church, the church that she was going to, and I've been following Christ ever since. but I had to choose, right? And the reason why I wanted to stop drinking because I was losing myself. You know what I mean? I was like, I would consider myself borderline alcoholic, as
Mhm.
soon as I was done work, my 10 to 12-hour shift, I was drinking because when you're in an abusive relationship, you got to cope somehow. And
Yep.
I couldn't beat him at the derogatory languages that he would use to me, and he just made me feel worthless. So might as well also feel worthless besides be worthless, right? So that
Mhm.
was my excuse for running to alcohol because I just couldn't stand him. And it's crazy, but influences put you in a space where you cannot get out of it. Like you have to choose to walk away from it. You have to choose to not indulge in it. And sounds like that's what you had to do.
Yeah.
And you can't be friends with certain people because, they're not on the path. Otherwise, you'll be corrupted too. Just like and it's more so an accountability on your part. You have to be accountable for yourself, you
Right.
know? God holds us accountable for ourselves. He gives us that free will, right?
Mhm.
So he absolutely allows us to make that choice. But there's a thing that seems right, right? The truth is some things may seem right, but is it right?
Right.
Um so um I can relate to that. I can relate to the whole alcohol. You also mentioned pornography.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to tell you, I had cousins too that
Mhm.
introduced me to pornography. And yeah, after watching a few episodes of some crazy stuff that I saw, yeah, we did reenact those things out. Um, yeah. I don't even know when it stopped for me, but I what I can tell you as I got older, as because after that I ended up being, molested again a second time by a second person
Mhm.
in my life, that I started to feel dirty. Like I started to feel like inward, and I wanted to wear baggy clothes, and I didn't, want to show my figure, and I didn't want anybody to, let alone like me.
Mhm.
I would always wear a hat. I dressed like a tomboy. Um, but what it did to me after doing all of those things and after being molested, I just didn't. I can't even today. If I see it on the TV, because now it's so prevalent in movies, it's like I have to look away because I don't want to see it. You
Mhm.
know, I know, what how it connects, sexually. So, uh, tell us what your experience with pornography has been for you.
Yeah, so it basically started when I was either 11 or 12 years old. Sometimes I'm bad with dates or like the ages and stuff
Okay.
like that. Everything kind of just I guess swindles in together. But I remember I just saw that my dad had him lying around. He was at work and I was curious. I saw the DVDs, saw the covers. I mean, also when my mom got remarried to her boyfriend had the same thing as well. So basically, I was
Mhm.
just a curious kid and I would always look at these tapes. I mean, I remember I took a couple of them from my dad when I was visiting him down summer. I took a couple of them and I would just watch them in private, and no one would see. And then obviously I engaged in years later when I was 19, engaged in the whole cycle of porn, masturbation, orgasm, and then that lasted for such a long time, and then it was on and off, and then the scenes that I would see, I wanted to reenact those with the women that I was with. And then that basically just was a downward spiral. And then some women were just, they were cool with it. Some women were not. I never really had an actual relationship before, so basically it was just always hookups, always drinking, always just trying to numb the pain. That's what I realized about the addiction that I was under. I was always just trying to numb the pain of everything that I had gone through. The hurt of abandonment, the hurt of just feeling lost and unworthy, and sometimes I just felt ugly. I mean, there were times I just didn't want to even cut my hair or just cut my beard or anything like that, and sometimes there were just days where I just laid around in the house and people would text me and I wouldn't even text them back. And that's how bad it had gotten with pornography because it just numbs you. It just makes you numb to everything that's around you. you don't want to say anything to anybody, and then you end up going to like strip clubs and bars and stuff like that, but that doesn't help out either. So for me, what helped me out was just going out and just saying, hey, look, listen, I told my church I needed help. So I told my pastor I needed help. They recommended me that I go to like Celebrate Recovery. So I went there and I basically went to another program called Overcomers Outreach. So that was like I was doing 2 days a week, and then I went to like a full program for Saturdays, and then I did that for a little while, and then the Lord told me that okay, like I see what you're doing now. So basically, after that, I was just healed, and and then after that, that's when He started to really reveal to me that the main issue was I had a wall up with God. It was abandonment issues, lost, feeling unworthy. So what God helped me to quit pornography was to get me a community because I'd always done everything by myself. So how God revealed Himself to me is to show me that I needed community, I needed friends, I needed family, I needed people that could trust me to actually love me and just to say, hey, look, listen, these people are actually not going to hurt you. And I had to trust in God, and I've been free for a year and a couple months, and just all glory to God. So yeah.
Awesome.
hmm
That's so awesome. So a you did a group therapy?
Yeah,
Is
it was called Celebrate Recovery. So it was basically just
so
like,
that for
yeah,
that for the pornography.
yeah,
Okay. Did you ever have to do um what is it? AA triple
yeah.
A?
Alcoholics Anonymous. Yeah,
Yeah, triple A meetings.
no, I,
I
I never did it.
Okay. But
hmm
you did some sort of program for the alcoholism, or is that
So for
something
the
you just
for the
did
alcoholism, I don't know what it was, but it was just I gave it up. I mean, I
because
just
you tried
one
it?
day I gave it up, and I just never went back. I actually didn't study it or anything like that. It was just
Sure.
I got tired of alcohol, and I was just doing way too much with my body, and I just said, no, I'm not going to do this anymore.
And some people have that will to be
Yeah.
able to do it, and some people need help, and there is nothing wrong with either one of those things.
hmm
No, that's that's great. How are your relationships with your family now?
It's on and off. There's family members I get along with better. My dad and I, we're getting along a lot better now because I just left the past in the past. And we had a conversation when my mom passed away 2 years ago that we are just gonna bury the hatchet and just move on as father and son. So I visit for the summers. Dad's changed over a new leaf, all by the grace of God, it seems. So it's a lot more
Okay.
calmer and a lot more better now. I mean, sure he has his moments where he swears, but overall he's a pretty good guy, and yeah, he takes care of me. I mean, last summer he took care of me and bought all my food and stuff like that. So yeah, so that's pretty good. With other family members, it's weird. I'll reach out and then they won't say anything. And then there's other family members where it's just like you never hear from them, or maybe they feel as if you don't like them, or I don't know. I got to be honest. Most
Yeah.
of my family's just weird. They really are.
Well, you're not gonna get. I like to think that I get along with everybody,
hmm
but I know I don't. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's always. I think that's normal.
hmm
I think creating safe and healthy spaces in homes, with relatives and things like that, and also, hey, sometimes you have to, keep a distance, keep a short,
hmm
keep some distance, just because all different types of characters and backgrounds, and we don't know. Half the time people are hiding things or holding on to things from their past that, traumatize them, and everything that there are in their current state right now as a reflection of that. And whatever is done in the dark, that you keep in the dark, it's going to come out in all sorts of ways, um in the way that we respond to people. So when I see somebody really angry, okay, what's behind that? What's the root, right?
Yeah.
So I'm seeing things as I listen to people's stories, and I'm realizing that there's a root cause for people's reactions, and even in myself, like I overwork myself. Like I'll stay at work, you know what I mean? And actually I'm like a workaholic,
Hmm.
just to escape the stress of motherhood or the stress of just bills. You know, I overcompensate there sometimes, I think, that's how I cope, and I have to be very careful with that because then I'll lose time with my family. I don't get to, spend time with my family, and that's not really like making wise choices. Even
Hmm.
though like mental health wise, it's like I wouldn't say it's therapy. I would say that it's just a coping mechanism, and it's just a trauma response because a lot of trauma victims will take on the whole world
Yeah.
because they're facing that, right?
Hmm.
But but we do snap, and when we snap hard, we
Yeah.
fall hard, and sometimes we're unconsolable, at the point of break. So I know that that has been for me, um, you know. So is there anything you'd like to share for our viewers on first of all, I'd like to take back not take back, but kind of like make reference to the fact that you said you have to like you can't um you got to change what you used to do.
Yeah.
And so by doing that, you have to stop doing or stop hanging out at certain places and things like that. And you had made reference that you just won't go to a bar because you don't want that to be a trigger for you.
Right.
Um, and then you're not friends with certain people. So how would you tell our viewers how to start managing what certain steps they should take and being able to kind of like purge themselves from certain things that would trigger bad behaviors.
Well, you have to be intentional.
Right.
As a recovery coach, I tell people who I coach is that, if you don't have a problem, you tell yourself that you don't have a problem, then to you, it's not a problem. But you have to realize is that, if you're always like spazzing out on people, that's a problem. To you, it may not seem like a problem, but that may be something that you have to take with God. You have to realize is that, we wage war. We don't wage war against flesh and blood. We wage war against dark forces and principalities. So there's a lot of things that are going on in the spiritual realm, and a lot of things that are going on in the mental health realm as well.
Right.
It could be mental health, or it could be demonic, but you never actually know until you actually go out and just get the help that you need. And then you have to pay attention to your surroundings. Like, are these people, are they harming you, or are they helping you? And that's a hard question to ask because a lot of people don't like to spend time with themselves. So,
Mm.
like, when you have to take some time just to spend by yourself, it may just be about, man, start slow, like about 10 minutes a day. Start really slow, 10 minutes a day, and just talk to God about, God, who do you want in my life? Who do you not want in my life? Like, okay, what are the things that I keep doing over and over and over again that are just like toxic? So that's what I would recommend.
Write it down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As it
Hmm.
comes to you, write it down. Ask these questions, even to yourself. Ask them because you know yourself better. You know yourself better than anyone else knows you, right?
Yeah.
So you have an idea of what you keep, you know, First of all, you gotta get to a point at a place in your life where you have to, okay, it's me. So what am I
Hmm.
doing? What can I do to safeguard or prevent, this from happening again? When a bad situation happens in my life, I replay that thing of numerous ways that I could have done or reacted better. I don't know why I do it. I don't know, I just want to be able to combat it if it comes up again and be successful at it. So I'll
Yeah.
just replay it until I figure out what I could have done different, how I could have responded better. Sometimes it's better to chastise yourself than for God to have to do it. So I rather just judge myself because I don't want people to be judging me, and let me fix myself.
Right.
Let me figure out what it is. I need to take accountability for this situation that happened, you know? And I
Mhm.
do and I may overanalyze a lot of things, right? But if I didn't, I wouldn't be the person I am today. I wouldn't be as patient as I am today. The mother I was to my adult children, I am a totally different mother than I am right now to my 10-year-old son,
Mhm.
right? Nobody got
Mhm.
the same version of me because I'm constantly evolving.
Mhm.
I'm, when I had my first child, I was 15. So she didn't get the best version of me. So when I started to have five, I had five kids, all relatively in the same age. If not, they were all just 1 year apart at one point in my life. And they didn't get the best version of me. I think my 10-year-old has probably got the best version of me because I done been through, any type of scenario these kids would have thrown. And but they're different now. The kids that are growing up now are different, and their social level is like in the toilet, And when I say, I don't mean to like crap on that, but I'm just saying like they're so privy to seeing everything too soon, too fast because of social media. It breaks them down emotionally. So I'm dealing with a whole different type of, the children in this generation today.
Right.
You're hearing more and more and more now that kids at 5 years old are being suicidal, they're actually trying to hang themselves. And why do you think that they would get such an idea from that, if not from access to social media, you
Yeah.
know access to certain television shows that we watch as an adult, so we're not being mindful that our kids are watching. So even if you're listening to this situation, and as everybody is listening in on our conversation, take heed to what your children are watching.
Mhm.
If you have pornography tapes, videos, or whatever, lock them up. I'm
Or
sorry
better
to
yet, just
say,
burn them.
just you shouldn't be indulging in them, but
Yeah.
at the same time, there's all types of people that are watching,
Mhm.
and from different backgrounds, and it's like, why in the world, would you give your children access to stuff
Yeah.
like that? And sometimes I feel it's like with certain parents today, it's lazy parenting because it's like, oh God, it's not gonna kill them.
Mhm.
Oh God, that type of attitude, or just not being mindful with what you're saying out of your mouth. And so I could go on and on about that topic, but I just think that if anybody takes away anything today, you need to be careful and also change your environment. If you want your
Mhm.
environment to prosper, if you want it to grow, if you're trying to heal in your environment, then there's toxic people. Obviously, you have to let go. Toxic things that you're feasting your eyes on, you have to let that go, and the more that you feed yourself positivity, right?
Yeah.
The less negativity is going to come up. The less negative, the way that you feel negatively about yourself is going to come up. But you got to feed your spirit. You got to feed your mind. You got to take care of your mental health. You got to whatever it's exercise, whether it's the way change the way that you're eating, change your conversation. You
Yeah.
know, that's a big thing. What I'm adding to my life is reading more books. Um, I'm not a big reader. I don't make time for that. So I'm making myself, you know, being able to feed my mind and give myself more information so that I'm smarter, so that I'm better. And I'm adding to my vocabulary, and so I think this conversation is good for anyone that is listening. Please share it. What words would you like to leave with us today? I do want to ask one more question. I know I asked you how you and your family are, but now that the book is out,
Hmm.
right? What was the feedback that you got?
Honestly, it was pretty positive. No
Okay.
one seemed to be angry or upset or anything of that nature. I mean, I checked a couple of reviews on Amazon, and people have seen me as an inspiration and a survivor
Good.
and someone who just took his life and just gave it to God and just built a relationship with the Lord and basically just
Uh-huh.
put all of his faith and trust in Him and just decided just to be still and just to surrender and to stop trying to fight His will for my life. So
Oh,
yeah, that's
surrender.
ultimately what I did. Yeah.
That part, surrender. It's completely trusting. It's
Hmm.
completely trusting and not worrying about, because that's what he asked us to do, right? He asked us to cast all your cares upon him, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Because he cares enough for us, right?
Hmm.
He loves us. So it's something that you have to practice,
Hmm.
right? What do
Yeah.
you have to say? You have to practice
Absolutely.
it because it's not something that comes very easily. You know, you heard him himself. He said, "I did everything alone."
Hmm.
I had to do everything on my own. I was pushed to be the man of the house at a young age. I was this, I was that. And so you have to practice. And when you practice something long enough, what? It becomes a part of us.
Exactly.
So, yeah. So leave us with some good, encouraging words. How can they find your book? And what are you doing if you got anything coming up in the near future? But I tell everybody that's ever graced this platform, I'm a fan for life, Caleb. I am going to be following you. Whatever you share, I'ma share. The community of They Took My Choice Away is a supporter of you for life.
Yeah. So basically, the words of encouragement I said is that healing takes time, but healing is a choice. So one of the things that I tell a lot of people is that healing is something that you have to do. I mean, you can't fantasize on it. It's great that you guys are listening to this conversation. Blessed to have all of you here, but please be one of those kind of people that takes action. Because if you don't take action, then nothing's really going to happen. And many people like to fantasize about this, but like they don't really do anything. So they just try to live vicariously through a lot of people, which is what I've learned,
Oh,
and that's actually not going to help you in the long run. I mean, I get it; these conversations are helpful, they're
yeah.
fruitful, but it's time to take that step. I mean, it's going to
I
be
agree.
scary, but you got to put in the work if you want to see the healing. And so, to find me, the easiest way is just to really do this: go to my Instagram page. You type in a man named Caleb. There'll be my link, which is my link tree, which is yes, Linktree CHARR8, and then you can find my books, my Facebook, my Instagram, my YouTube page. All that stuff will just be found on there. So that's like the easiest way to find me.
Great.
Basically, now what I do with my life is, since I give my life to God, now I'm just a recovery coach. I'm a writer. I'm a speaker. I just basically just try to let God use me in any way, shape, or form that He can. I'm also in youth ministry as well, just trying to pour my wisdom into the kids and just trying to help them out as well. Basically, I have a book that's going to be coming out in June called "Escaping Pornography," which is a
Wonderful.
biblical based guide that's going to be helping out the men, and it's also going to have a workbook attached to it as well, so we could just conquer the addiction of sex and porn addiction together. So, and also I'm available for coaching as well. So that's what I got going on.
Wonderful. I have shared this onto Facebook. So if you don't mind going on there and just adding those links, that
Sure.
would be super awesome. I want people to have quick access to you. I thank you so much for
Hmm.
sharing your story and sitting down with us about the after effects of sexual assault. And I'm probably gonna have some projects coming up. I'd like for you to come back, but I had you up for
Sure.
those dates, okay? All
Awesome.
right. Thank you so much, Caleb. We will see you soon.
Cool.
All right.